The Toronto Raptors schedule has been released, and the only way to put it is that the NBA has blessed this Raptors season. So I'm going to break down how this schedule will impact the trajectory of this upcoming year. Additionally, Scottie Barnes may have leaked a move that the Raptors have made this summer that hasn't been put out to the public. So I'm going to talk about how this could impact the roster going into this season and a whole bunch more in this video. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And folks, if you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet, you want to stay up to date on all the latest Raptors news, coverage, analysis, definitely hit that subscribe button down below. It helps us out big time. But we gotta dive straight into the news, and something that's been anticipated by Raptors fans, it's the NBA schedule. The Raptors schedule included has been released. And as I said in the intro, the NBA, Adam Silver, whoever comes up with the schedule algorithms to, select the teams, the Raptors have been blessed because we have a really solid schedule coming into this season. Blake Murphy gave a good analysis, good breakdown on everything that's going on. So currently the Raptors have the third most rest advantage games. They have the third fewest rest disadvantage games. So that means, if you're coming off nights, back-to-backs or whatever, right, you're facing teams that are less rested and you're not having as many of those grueling back-to-backs coming into this season. Third least in both categories. That's pretty huge. Additionally, we're tied for the fewest back-to-backs over the course of the season. This has been something the NBA's sort of been trying to wean away from teams, right? Back-to-backs, more injuries happen. Teams just play sluggish on back-to-backs, so that's going to help us out big time on that front. And additionally, there's the second fewest miles traveled. So people aren't fans of jet lag. Obviously, people always bring up the Toronto Raptors, oh, they got to go through customs, so flying so much harder and all that sort of stuff. Well, maybe the NBA is giving some leeway for the Raptors now with the second fewest miles traveled. And, Blake Murphy also goes on to say there's some brutal and poorly timed road trips, but for a full 82 schedule, that's about as good as it gets. So that's essentially Blake's breakdown of it, and I couldn't agree with him more. This is the stuff that you worry about when you're looking at an NBA schedule. Right, you want to have those minimal back-to-backs, not only for just advantages for wins and all that sort of stuff, but it minimizes injuries because Raptors, we saw it last season, we dealt with a multitude of injuries and it hampered our ability to play in the playoffs. Like, I think if we were fully healthy, we were beating that Sixers team last year in the postseason. So hopefully Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Gary Trent Jr., whoever are going to be logging a lot of minutes for this Raptors team this upcoming season aren't going to be bogged down by just too many, back-to-back moments, injuries due to lack of rest, right? This schedule amplifies the fact that, we'll probably be good heading into the playoffs, or at least maximizes the possibility for that being the case. Now, I have seen a bunch of people bring up, just looking at the schedule, seeing how everything is going down, the start of the season being pretty grueling for the Toronto Raptors, and it is, right? We're facing a lot of good teams starting off this year. Starts with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who obviously had a really strong start to last year, but dealt with injuries themselves and waned off. They have a young team that's only going to get better. Face the Brooklyn Nets. Who knows who'll be on that Brooklyn Nets team? Then obviously the first seed at Miami Heat, back-to-back games, and the Philadelphia 76ers back-to-back, who are obviously two top 4 teams in the East. Then you get the Atlanta Hawks, who have Trae Young and now DeJounte Murray. The Spurs should be a pretty easy one. And then you face Luka and DeMar DeRozan in the next 3 games. So, that's a pretty tough start to the season. I could see a lot of Raptors fans overreacting to maybe not the most stellar record, not being the 1 seed right away coming into the year. And that is what it is. But, you play everyone basically. Play everyone in your conference and all that sort of stuff, right? Even if the Raptors have a tougher start, I still think it's going to amp them up, prepare them to go forward throughout the season to really make their stamp. And obviously, I predict in top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Let me know what you guys think. After looking at the schedule, seeing stuff breaking down, but don't get too distraught. I'm saying it early on. I'm saying it before I got to say it. Come November, when we might have a lesser record than expected, we have a really tough start to the season. But regardless, things are going to even themselves out, and I think the Raptors are going to be handled it one way or another. So that's my breakdown on the schedule. But now we got to break down potential move that a lot of Raptors fans have speculated on, and now only fuel has been added to the fire. The rumor fires have been fueled by Scottie Barnes going on his live stream, going on a Twitch chat, and essentially, reacting to his own videos and essentially assuming that a signing has been made. I'll let it play first to see what you guys think.
Bro, Delano is so fast with the ball. Jared Culver got a Raps girl on some shit right now. Did he get signed? I thought he got signed. Jared Culver, he's really good. That guy's really good.
So Scottie Barnes is under the impression that Jared Culver's already on the roster. He's under the impression that he's already at least been signed to the Toronto Raptors. Now, who's Jared Culver? We broke it down in previous videos, but if you've been watching the Rico Hines highlight films that Scottie Barnes was reacting to on his Twitch stream, Jared Culver's been the guy that's not currently on the Raptors, right? Hasn't been signed, no Woj, no Shams, not even a Raptors local beat reporter have reported that this signing has gone down, that he's associated with the franchise in any way. But the guy that he's playing with, the guy that he's out there talking day by day, is under the assumption that he's already been signed to the team. So Jared Culver's a guy that played for the Minnesota Timberwolves for 2 seasons, then ended up going to the Memphis Grizzlies last year. The Grizzlies were loaded, so he didn't get that much of an opportunity, only averaged like 3 points per game. He's not much of a shooter, however, he has shown a lot of progression, at least in these off-season scrims, and he's a really solid defender, an energy guy, a slasher that in his rookie season averaged close to 10 points per game. So he has a lot of potential. He fits a Raptors mold, so it makes sense why the Raptors want him in the system. But as we've broken down this entire summer, our roster is full, and there's a guy that's playing for the CEBL that's been reinstated to the NBA that's already looking to make this Raptors squad. So, and that's Jalen Harris, who we made our last video on, who plays the same position as Jared Culver. So what's going on with the Raptors? Scottie Barnes is under the assumption that he's been signed. It's weird that he's been rocking Raptors gear at all of these Rico Hines runs. Blake Murphy, who already addressed at the beginning of this podcast, broke down the schedule, said that maybe it was a cup of coffee. He hasn't heard anything spilt on his original jerseys, and then he was lent some Raptor stuff. But if he's rocking that Raptors gear day in, day out, then that's pretty interesting. So what could this be? What could be happening? Because we have 20 people, the 20 slots we have filled going into this training camp that's already been signed with players, whether guaranteed or unguaranteed players. That's full. Our training camp roster is full. There's no one allowed to be on the main roster, assuming we don't make a trade or waive anybody. So what's really going on with this whole situation? And some people have speculated maybe he's signing with the 905 and it just hasn't been reported. It slipped through the cracks. Maybe there's a guy that is named after a water brand. Fiji Water could be on his way out, could be getting waived because Jared Culver's too big of a sign. He's playing too well in these offseason scrims to not bring in. But it's all really speculation at this point. But Scottie Barnes essentially being under the assumption he's already on the team adds more fuel to the fire. And I think Jared Culver's going to be involved with this team somehow going into this season. I don't imagine it's going to be rocking those jerseys. Scottie Barnes is assuming he's on the team. If it's just a nothing burger, if there's nothing going on, whether he's with the 905 or the main roster, I think something's going to happen. So we'll see what happens on that front. The next thing we're diving into, the next thing we're talking about is a former Toronto Raptor leaves for Europe. Spelled that brutally wrong in the title heading, but former Toronto Raptor. I guess he was a Raptor this entire season. I guess he's only your Raptor until you officially leave. So I guess current Toronto Raptor, Isaac Bonga.
So fast.
Wrong clip. Isaac Bonga leaves the NBA for Bayern Munich. So it's going over. I believe it's in Germany. Bayern Munich. I think they have a football team, soccer team, football for all the European listeners out there, but. Isaac Bonga's officially not coming back to the Toronto Raptors, and as I just broke down in the Jared Culver potential signing, right, we don't have room. We don't have space for Isaac Bonga to come in. There's a bunch of drama about him getting signed to the team last season, Bonga, over guys like Sam Decker and Ishmael Wainwright, and Bonga just really couldn't put it together, right? He had that potential as, a 6'9" point guard playing most of his, or played point guard for the Lakers, and then a ball-handling big man, that's 6'9" with the long arms, right? Just couldn't find his role with the team. Didn't have an impact when he was actually out there. So Bonga is moving on to potentially a place where he'll get more playing time, get more of an opportunity. I wish him the best. Seemed like a cool dude in all the interviews he gave, and all the footage seemed to have a cool relationship with Scottie. But, Isaac Bonga, wishing him the best. And the final thing we're discussing, the final thing we're talking about is Toronto Raptors backcourt, the clutchest in the NBA, the clutchest in the league. because StatMuse has been dropping stats to keep us engaged, keep us interested over the course of this offseason. An interesting stat for about the Toronto Raptors, or about the NBA, but Toronto Raptors players picked up in it. But essentially, most three-pointers made in the clutch last season. Right, number 1 at 19, Fred VanVleet. Number 2, Kyle Kuzma at 17. Obviously, Kuz, NBA champion, 2 champions there. Then third, Gary Trent Jr. And fourth, Michael Conley at well, I guess they're tied for third with 14 apiece. And, I've been talking about how I want Gary Trent Jr. to be our sort of closer guy in terms of, at least last season, I think Siakam, Scottie, they can take a step forward this year, right? But Gary Trent Jr. just being able to create his own shot out of nothing, right? Those are the guys you want in those ISO situations, right? But Fred VanVleet is a guy that I think gets bagged on because he's had some big moments where he's missed some shots, right? But obviously clutch time is within the last 5 minutes of the game. I think if the scores within 5 points. I'm not sure if it's 5 minutes or 2 minutes, how you define clutch time, but Fred is certainly confident and he's ready to take those shots, but creating can be tough. But if they're knocking them down, if they're at that elite level, that's a skill to have in your backcourt, be able to get you a three with relative confidence, right? Relative confidence, get you an open look, get you a shot that you're confident with them making down. They aren't going to choke down the stretch. That's huge having in our backcourt. So shout out to Fred VanVleet, shout out to Gary Trent Jr., our star boy, right? Star boy showing up in the clutch this previous season, being the clutchest backcourt in the NBA, according to at least 3-point makes total for according to StatMuse, right? That's one way to look at it. I'm happy with all the Raptor stats that are little deep dives, digs that get us excited about the team. I love all those. But folks, you guys are the best to make this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. Anyways, enough of me rambling. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.